The flames of last summer's apocalyptic bushfires are well and truly embedded in all our memories. But what experts have discovered is it's actually the smoke from the blazes that's caused the greatest human loss. For weeks and weeks, vast swathes of the country were choked. It led to a staggering toll. More than 400 deaths, as well as 4,000 admissions to hospital, are directly attributable to the bushfire smoke. We all hope this year's fire season will be less severe, but unless we understand the full impact of this insidious health threat, more lives will be at risk. Viewed from space, last summer's bushfires are not only awe-inspiring, but shocking. A reminder of the sheer scale of the fires that burned through our long black summer.
It's extraordinary to see it like this with satellite imaging. That's where we were seeing some of the worst air quality in the world from that really dense smoke.
It's the hidden danger of that smoke that has doctors like Anna-Greta Hunter deeply worried. For never before have so many of us been bombarded like this for so long. The power of that smoke coming out, it almost looks like it's a volcano.
It does.
But it's not just one.
No.
Volcano after volcano after volcano.
No. We're watching this smoke extend around the world. It's immense.
Last summer's bushfires burned for 6 months
Kick the fence down if you have to.
and directly claimed the lives of 33 people. But tragically, we now know the true death toll is more than 10 times that amount. Not from the flames, but from the smoke, which has claimed at least another 400 lives.
We woke up to the worst air quality in the world.
It's making people cough and wheeze and causing nose, eye and throat irritation.
Smoke that poured into the atmosphere was breathed in by an estimated 12 million Australians.
And then I was, stay alive, don't die now, don't die in front of him, stay alive.
From our strongest to our most vulnerable. Causing health impacts we are only beginning to understand.
So this is like concentrated smoke.
You don't want to be breathing that in.
No.
No.
I'm about to kick a goal.
Are you?
Yeah, I am.
All right, ready?
Alison Potter and soccer-mad Lincoln
You show me your best shot.
are as close as any mother and son,
Good shot.
but with one very special and unique bond.
So, Mum,
Look at this one.
At the height of the bushfire disaster, then 7-year-old Lincoln saved his mum's life. I think you're known now as the 000 hero. Yeah? Do you feel like a hero?
not really, because I did it for my mum and she's worth it.
In the crisp air of spring, it's easy to forget just how dense the smoke was. But by the beginning of the year, the fires had been raging for months, blanketing vast swathes of the country in a thick, acrid smog. As a severe asthmatic, Alison had tried everything to keep it at bay.
We couldn't escape it. Victoria was on fire, Queensland was on fire. We couldn't do anything. We just had to endure it.
On the morning of January the 2nd, Alison and Lincoln were at home alone, hunkered down in the southern suburbs of Sydney.
That day was a bad day, a really bad day. It was like doomsday was coming.
Out of nowhere, Alison's chest suddenly tightened.
I went and had some medication and it didn't work, and I had some more and then I went, no, this is not working. Then I thought we're in trouble.
She started laying in the kitchen and her eyes closed.
What was that like to see?
Scary. It didn't look good either.
Alison was in the midst of a life-threatening asthma attack. Recognising the danger his mum was in,
Ambulance emergency, what town or suburb?
Lincoln called 000.
Okay, tell me exactly what's happened.
My mum, she's struggling to breathe.
So your mum's struggling to breathe?
Yes.
Listening back to Brave Lincoln's emergency call
Mummy.
is a reminder of just how close Alison came to succumbing to the smoke that day.
Give her a bit of a shake her shoulder and call out to her. See if we can get her to open her eyes.
Mummy. Yep, she can open her eyes.
Okay, good.
I remember thinking, don't die now, don't die in front of him. Like, this is not the time. You've got to hold on, you've got to keep going.
Were you worried that that was going to happen to Mum?
Yeah. I just wanted to know if she was okay.
Thanks, yeah, 653 responding on the job at Bartlett and Sarah Abo.
With paramedics now racing to the scene, Lincoln followed every instruction to give his mum the best chance of survival.
Mummy. Mummy.
Squeeze her on the shoulder, mate. Give her a good squeeze on the shoulder and tell her to open her eyes and look at you.
Open your eyes, Mummy. She's not opening her eyes.
She's still breathing?
I don't know.
You all right?
Yeah, it's heartbreaking to think that, you know, he was there by himself.
He's so gentle with you, isn't he?
Yeah, he's beautiful.
What do you think of the word asthma? What does it make you feel?
Sad.
Why is that?
Because people can get it, and in worst case scenario, they can die.
For hundreds of Australians, sadly, last summer was the worst case scenario.
We've never had bushfires quite like that. We've never had a smoke experience quite like that. We've never had 12 million Australians under the haze of bushfire smoke for a protracted period of time.
The visual contrast between now and then is a stark reminder of the toxic air we were exposed to for weeks on end. Being here today, it's hard to believe it's the same place.
It really is. I mean, in December and January, it was so difficult to see Parliament House through the smoke. It was an extraordinary time. Today's vista is so much nicer to look at.
And so much healthier.
So much better for our health.
Cardiologist Dr. Anna Greta Hunter lived and worked through the worst of the smoke, and like her medical colleagues, is deeply concerned about the long-term legacy for anyone who breathed it in, not just those with asthma. So while that smoke is sitting there, what is it doing to the people who live beneath it?
It gets into the bloodstream, and so it affects blood vessels and affects our heart and liver and kidneys, and can affect all different elements of our human health. And so we're more prone to things like chest infections and things like heart attack and stroke. It can make asthma more problematic. It can make emphysema more problematic.
Last summer, more than 4,000 people needed hospital treatment. But the true extent of the potential damage is yet to reveal itself.
Because it was an unprecedented event, particularly in the duration of exposure to hazardous bushfire smoke across a large population, it will take years, it'll potentially take decades for us to fully appreciate the health ramifications and the health impacts of the bushfire smoke.
Coming up.
How many times a day would he cough like that?
About 100 times, maybe?
Unbreathable.
So this is like concentrated smoke.
You don't want to be breathing that in.
No.
And unbelievable.
Never in my wildest dreams realised it would be as deadly as it was.
But can scientists stop the smoke?
So this is where the magic's going to happen.
I hope so.
That's next on 60 Minutes.
Cheryl Lee Partridge has brought me to where the fires once raged.
They were boxed in because there was the fires here. There was fires to the north. There were fires to the northeast, and it was all funneling.
Recalling the immediate threat they posed to her community in northern New South Wales. And of course, I guess the greatest fear at that time are the flames themselves.
Yeah, totally. People are putting in fire breaks everywhere, protecting property when they can, where they can, and just, yeah, trying to avoid the fire front.
How much thought do you think is given to the smoke?
I don't think any. People need to know the risks that not just fire poses, but the smoke too.
And it was the smoke that proved deadly for Cheryl Lee's 19-year-old sister, Courtney. Courtney was a ray of light to all who knew her in her hometown of Glen Innes.
She was 19, full of love, full of life. She'd do anything to pull a smile out of you, a laugh, and if it was at her own expense, then, you know, so be it.
In late November, as the fires got ever closer, Courtney had gone with her parents, Tammy and Chris, to watch the Christmas lights switched on in town.
She was always out for a laugh.
As they remember it, it was a lovely but uneventful night.
The smoke didn't start coming in till about 9 o'clock as we were getting home. I never, in my wildest dreams, realised it would be as deadly as it was.
Nor did Courtney. Despite being an asthmatic, she went to bed untroubled by the smoke. But during the night, she suffered a sudden and aggressive asthma attack and died alone.
At some point when you're growing up, you realise your parents are going to die. And it's hard and it's sad, but it's not a shock like that.
Still wait for her phone call. Or check Facebook to see whether she's checked in or changed her profile picture or that normal stuff that 19-year-old girls do, yeah.
And you can't help yourself, you still check that?
Yeah, I still check it every day, yeah.
Another year has come and gone.
Cheryl Lee fears her sister Courtney and the hundreds like her are the forgotten casualties of the bushfires. To recognise them as victims, she hopes is a critical step in protecting lives in the future.
I'm surrounded by your love.
If you don't know what the risk is, you can't keep yourself safe. When you think that over 400 families are sitting in the same situation that we are from one bushfire event, I think that's call in itself for something to be different.
If you're not protected in your own home, in your own bed, how can you be protected against bushfire smoke?
I think knowledge is power. I think that the research needs to start around the long-term impacts of being exposed to that level of bushfire smoke for those significant periods. The conversation needs to start, and it needs to start before the next bushfire season.
So this is where the magic's going to happen.
Yes, I hope so.
Professor Phil Hansbrough is leading a study into bushfire smoke that is the first of its kind in the world. His team at the Centenary Institute is investigating just how dangerous smoke is and who is most at risk. Considering that money has been put into a research program like this, what does that tell you about how seriously the threat of bushfire smoke is now being taken at a political level even?
I think people are really taking notice now of the impacts of these bushfire events and the smoke they produce on people's health.
It seems like a contradiction, but it's the tiniest particles in smoke, known as PM 2.5, which pose the greatest risk to our health. They're about 3% the thickness of a human hair. When you see it like that, you don't think of that as smoke, but that's what we're breathing in.
That's right. So this is like concentrated smoke.
Right. You don't want to be breathing that in. No. Carried on the wind, these tiny particles are breathed deep into the lungs and can even end up in the bloodstream. Mistaking them for a virus or other pathogen, our bodies fight back with a defensive immune response, one that leads to the release of a flood of toxins, causing inflammation, which can damage healthy cells. So what are we looking at here, Phil?
So these are the defences of our body. They're all looking very happy, very nice and cosy and settled in their little culture dish.
So the body's not at risk at this point?
No.
But it's a different story after just 24 hours of being subjected to bushfire smoke. So then what is this telling us?
So these are these same defensive cells that have been exposed to smoke, and these are looking very angry.
So these are the body's defences in battle mode?
Yes, that's right. They're trying to kill what they see as pathogens when it is in fact particles of smoke.
Which leads to inflammation, which leads to ill health.
Yes, that's right.
It's a battle that's about to rage in this machine. Petri dishes of human cells are blitzed by smoke particles collected from the burning of different types of vegetation, which produces different types of smoke, each with its own degree of danger.
What we're trying to do is work out what are the important effects of the different types of bushfire smoke and how they might differentially affect different kinds of people. So healthy people, people with asthma, emphysema, older people, people who are pregnant.
So you're actually simulating what we experienced during the bushfire summer?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think there's lots of potential outcomes from this research. If we can determine what size particles are most damaging, that will determine what kinds of preventions and treatments can we use for people who are going to get exposed to bushfire smoke.
It's the potential impact on the very young that is perhaps the most pressing.
What do you like more? Do you like the glockenspiel or the broom? Oh.
At the age of 1, Phoenix Obeyed is an unstoppable force, as inquisitive as he is energetic, and full of smiles for his mum, Kristen. But 9 months on, he still has ongoing issues from the night he struggled to breathe.
You little cough. How many times a day would he cough like that?
No, I don't know, about 100 times maybe. It's impacting him every day still, and it's not fire season yet.
So these are the good days.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
The cough began at the start of last bushfire season, when Phoenix was just a few months old. And last December, as the smoke worsened, so too did his condition.
They put him straight into ICU and intubated him straight away. There was a sense of urgency. They said that he was in a dire situation. So, yeah, it was very scary.
What do you think the outcome would have been if you hadn't kept such a close eye on Phoenix that night before taking him to hospital?
If I didn't have the knowledge that I had about asthma, particularly, I probably would have left him alone in his bed and not had a baby in the morning, honestly.
Any challenges in early life, in that vulnerable period when the lungs are developing and your airways are developing, could have long-term effects, lifelong effects on those individuals.
Thanks to her son Lincoln, Alison Potter was lucky to get help as quickly as she did.
It's nice to meet you.
Owing a debt of gratitude to the paramedics who responded with such urgency.
We are good, thank you. We are now, aren't we? We wanted to say a very big thank you, didn't we?
No worries,
Thank you for helping us all so much.
Absolute pleasure.
We were very grateful to see you.
Thank you for doing such a good job.
Yes.
Calling 000.
Alison spent a spell in intensive care and 3 weeks in hospital, with the constant fear of another attack.
In hospital, could you escape the smoke?
No. It seeped into hospital wards and into rooms, and I remember sitting in a hospital bed thinking, what am I going to do now? What can we as a society do now? I'm in the safest place, and yet it's still getting us. It was everywhere, and it's an awful feeling.
Another year has come and gone, another circle.
For everyone who suffered during that long black summer, there is anxiety about what the future will hold. But there is one certainty. that in a warming climate, there will be more catastrophic bushfires in the future. And as we all know, where there's fire, there's smoke. Do you think that the general population, that the authorities understand how dangerous smoke is for people who are asthmatic, but also for everyone else?
No, I don't. I really don't. My personal opinion is they have no idea. Until you've lived it and breathed it and felt the effects of it, no idea. For some of us, it is volatile.
Hello, I'm Tara Brown. Thanks for watching. To keep up with the latest from 60 Minutes Australia, make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can also download the 9Now app for full episodes and other exclusive 60 Minutes content.